Om Stapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhormur Namasri Etirajaya Vivekananda Suri Satchit Sukhasvarupaya Swamini Tapahari. So we are in the chapter Gadadhar's boyhood. Of course, as we proceed further, we'll have quite a lot to discuss because now in his boyhood, things largely where Sardanandji has used, of course, the evidence available, but much more than that, he has kind of reconstructed the boyhood incidents in a way because, see, many of the ideas expressed were not really known to others. जिन लोग थे उनका इतना जरूर समझ नहीं आया. He has completely painted a picture how he was out and out spiritual even from a boyhood. So, मान लीजिए गांव में रहने वाले, how would they understand all that? They thought that he's a very, of course, he was a very attractive uh, and beautiful child, very friendly, always charming, joyful. All those were definitely there. And of course, there were signs like, that he was extraordinary. But then to interpret all as something indicative of his future greatness or that he was virtually God incarnated on earth, all those ideas, of course, certainly they were not known to many of those villagers. Even to Gadadhar himself. In fact, this is a very mysterious part of any avatara coming on earth. Not only that, not only avatara. In most of the cases, those who are very extraordinary, even from childhood, very rarely they recognize that they were very special. Because now when Swamiji came to meet Sri Ramakrishna as a young Narendra, he asked him, how do you go to sleep? बचपन से वैसे ही वो नींद में जाते थे. This I would close my eyes. Then a small speck of light would appear between the eyebrows and it will become bigger and bigger. It will become a huge ball of light and that would engulf my entire personality. And that's how I would go to sleep. And not thought that's how all boys sleep. That's what he was thinking. But Shyam said, yes, I know you're a yogi. Yogic sign. Does any child sleep like that? A ball of light completely engulfing its personality? None of that. These are all children sleep. He never thought any other ways children sleep. Because no, how would he go and ask another child, how do you sleep? I would say, सबको ऐसे होता है सोचा था. So like that, many of the things which Sharatma discusses here, he himself is, slightly hesitant. Himself, that way, raised, regardless of what people may think about it. In the interest of truth, we must narrate all the facts that we have gathered in our investigation. So it's circumstantial. He talked to many people whoever was available because even then, when he wrote, even then there were people who had seen Sri Ramakrishna, who had mixed with him, who had talked to him, who had enjoyed his company. Other people were available even then in Kamarpur, etc. So obviously he could gather a lot of direct evidence from them. Much more than that, because relating to later events, बाद में जैसी हुआ वही संदर्भ में उन्होंने इस सबको सजाया ऐसे, so that they all make a very continuous nice narrative that way. So obviously he has for a later period he has constructed them like that very nicely, taking into account what happened later. And probably, in his mature years, what Sri Ramakrishna felt about what happened in his boyhood. See, even in the case of Sri Ramakrishna himself, I don't think everything was so clear to him at that stage. then if everything is so clear, then it becomes a totally different game. See, if an avatara is to realize from day one is avatara, then he's no longer avatara. Avatarit hona, it means coming to earth. He himself, I think the other day we saw in the Bengali Katham, a song, how the child touches the earth and immediately gets the touch of Maya, and how it is completely trapped. Some such song meaning that way. So, the moment they come to earth, definitely there will be earthly qualities. Otherwise, there is no meaning in God coming down on earth. But then, in the very childhood, is always a mixture that, sometimes this, sometimes that. It's little hazy, it's not very clear. There are great signs. So Thakur also, Gadadhar also, although he felt many such things, yet he never felt that he was very special or very extraordinary or very different. He felt, no doubt. But there also, whether it was something, he knew that it was all wonderful. But probably, in his case also, there was that awareness that he was something very special was definitely not there. So that's why Sri Krishna also says, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanamasritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhutam heshwar. And also he says, Sambhavami atma maya. By his own maya, God kind of conceals himself or puts on some kind of avarana, covering. Otherwise, the Leela cannot go on. Supposing, from day one, if God incarnated not starts behaving completely like God, there won't be any charm in that life. Only when there is a mixture of little of the happenings of the world, like any other child, and then also along with that, now and then there is a flash of that divine quality that adds so much of beauty and charm to the lives of incarnations. But as they grow in age, because if it is like God incarnate on day one, then the idea of sadhana does not come at all. What is the need for God to do sadhana? If he is God himself, उनकी तो कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है साधन करने. So the idea of sadhana becomes irrelevant. But in that condition, there is a thirst for something very superior, dislike for things which are worldly. There is a tremendous sense of renunciation, dispassion, all those qualities. And then as they grow up, then they get into full-fledged sadhana like others. Because, see, this is not only just an exhibition of the divine qualities of God, it's also to set a way for mankind. बाकी लोग धरती पे कैसे चले? So that, yes, Sri Ram himself says, whatever you did, 100 they do. A portion of it you do, that is enough. But they set very high standards. माँ भी कहाँ बलन, मैं others की तुलनाएं ढेर किया, बहुत सारे किया. In Bengali means I did enough and more to set an example. So if otherwise, even then, after some time, people will always say, oh, he was God. How can we be like him? How can we follow him? What can we do? That is why, it is the tempo is slowly built up through their boyhood incidents, images, how he also struggled, how he also was deeply affected by the passing of his father, and how he felt very close to his mother, how he felt the need to support her. He never said, so, जो जन्म लेता हो तो मरता है इसमें क्या है? He didn't say that. So all those things are being brought in. And then as they do sadhana, and in a classical way get the truth or the reality or the vision of God, etc., then slowly the divinity also starts manifesting in greater and greater measure. And then at one point of time, the complete divinity is revealed, and they don't stay much after that. If that happens, then probably there is almost a culmination, because now once the full manifestation happens, after that they will not stay long, because the body cannot contain the case which is containing that extraordinary personality, becomes incapable of nurturing that body. That at one point of time, when truth is revealed, the Thakur used to say, "मैं जावा करेंगे, हाटे हाड़ी भेंगे दिए जाओ. Before I go, I will break the pot in the marketplace and go." So when that happened, that's actually the avatara's Leela coming to an end. So, as we read also, sometimes we would feel, अरे क्या बोल रहे हैं, ऐसे से क्या हो सकता है बच्चे लोग के लिए. So let us not worry about that. In the next chapter onwards, we have a lot of things to discuss. So here, uh, we saw how he had an extraordinary experience during the night on Shivaratri. So like that, every now and then it would happen. Whenever there was an occasion, whenever he was listening to songs and praise of gods and goddesses, his mind becomes so concentrated, it would completely withdraw for a period of time. And he would lose outer consciousness, become like a statue, like a murti ki tarah, ekdam patthar ki murti ki tarah bait raha. And then, if everybody, anyone questions, kya hua, suddenly, boy, he was very chirpy and happy-go-lucky, playing and running about. Suddenly, he's sitting like a statue. Kya hua? Then he would say, I was in a deep sense of bliss and a bahut anand ho raha tha. Because what that ananda we can't even imagine. He would say that he was, he had a rapturous vision of the deity whom he had been meditating upon. So देव देवियां के मूर्ति का दर्शन बीच बीच में उनका होता. But everybody kind of tolerated, because these are उनका तो तबीयत कुछ खराब नहीं हो रहा है. So initially they were thinking it is epileptic fits or something like that. But they found that his health was not getting affected. He was maintaining perfect health. At other times he was happy and playful as before. Only kabhi kabhi aisa ho jata tha. See, everybody was satisfied that nothing wrong, and then he would be in that mood every now and then. So these experiences made him full of joy, because ऐसे ऐसे होने में it's very very difficult to even contain, accept, क्योंकि सब ठाकुर ने नरेंद्र नाथ के स्पर्श किया. When he touched him, Nina completely lost outward consciousness. अब क्या कर रहे हैं, मेरे माता पिता है घर पे. I have my parents at home. What are you doing? Then Sri Ram says, all right, बाद में होगा. So he could not contain that. But Vedadar was comfortably at ease. When any such thing happened, he never felt any fear. क्या मैं मर जाऊं ऐसे. आपके मान लीजिए हठात समाधि लग जाए, it'd be terribly shaken. It's not easy, because our senses are always, even at the age of 85, 90, they're all fully active. Charitra, dekhna, ye karna, sab kuch karna, we are all, that's what we think is healthy. Na? I'm still very active, very healthy. I can run about, I can see, I can hear, I can eat, I can move. So we think these are all the signs of great health. But supposing suddenly somebody puts you to samadhi, bas, aap to mar hi jayenge turant. Of course, same for as of anybody. It's not so easy. But here is a person at a very young age is so comfortable. Which में ऐसे होता था, दर्शन भी होता था. He was just taking everything in his. That's why, see, these are all being now narrated by Sarat Maharaj. Some 15 years after Thakur's Mahasamadhi. So, it is 15, 20 years or even more after that. So now, in hindsight, he's reconstructing all those incidents, how it was, how he must have felt. Of course, he had evidence. He had talked to people who had lived with Thakur. But the whole narrative, the construct is Sarat Maharaj. It was not as it was revealed by Gadadhar to everybody at that time, or as it was understood by his contemporaries at that time. आपकी समय समय जिन लोग रहते हैं, उनकी क्या समझ है, उसकी विचार में it will be a totally different narrative. अच्छा, he was a playful boy. Suddenly कभी कभी बात नहीं करता था, एक मूर्ति की तरह बैठ रहा था. इतना only उन लोग जानते थे. They do not know it was a samadhi, it was an experience, anything. All these are all by talking to Thakur, others, etc. Later on, whatever he had himself understood, so Shatmaz is constructing it beautifully, so that as he grows, we get a complete picture of Gadadhar. ऐसे नहीं है इधर उधर घूमता फिरता अचानक साधन करने के लिए बैठ गया. That's also not good, na? Suddenly, he says when he comes to Kali Mandir and completely immerses in samadhi, did it happen overnight? दक्षिणेश्वर में आया, मंदिर दर्शन किया, बस बैठ के. No, it was not that. From a young age, this tendency was fully there. It was there. Now and then it was expressing itself. He was feeling great joy. He was feeling happiness in that. And then slowly, at the age of 17, 18, when he came to Dakshineshwar, and that was kind of becoming, the fusion was happening, or the completeness was happening. And then he was immersing himself into complete sadhana, so to say. So, there were so many in the village, there were worshippers of Shiva, Kali, Hari, Mansa, etc., etc. But naturally, he was Catholic. So he would participate in everything, and all those devotees were his great friends. And so he learned the customs and manners of all those in the village. So by and large, they say in the village of Kamarpur, there was quite a lot of harmony. They all used to live peacefully together, although there were many shades of religious opinions at that place. So he had, of course, developed a great interest in religious learning. But book learning, to unka bahut hi naraz. He was not at all, because he saw how these pandits and teachers, they were studying more and more, getting advanced degrees and all with the idea of earning more, how to increase one's prosperity, how to become richer, etc. Not only that, he always used to compare. That's why while bringing up children, the role of parents is so important. If you many parents come and complain, oh Maharaj, my son is like that, daughter is like that. They are like that because of you. What have you given them when they were young? Bachpan mein kya sikhaya? Did you give them all that? You gave them, put them in the very sophisticated English medium or some other school, and you let them to prosper academically. But did you do character building? So Gadadhar always used to compare his fathers. उनकी जो त्याग, तपस्या, भक्ति, सत्य के प्रति निष्ठा, his renunciation, devotion, truthfulness, ethical conduct and righteousness. All that used to remind him. So, how these people are living, how my father used to live, it was far better. Because, why? In spite of all that, there's always peace, calmness, happiness in the house. Ultimately, as a young child, what he would enjoy. See, in many places, in many affluent houses, खाने के लिए पीने के लिए बहुत कुछ चीज है. The fridge is full of items, but father and mother fighting daily. Whether the child would love that or a simple food and everybody living happily, joyfully, which a child would love. So he saw these people are running after all that, whereas my father never cared for anything. We never had an affluence, but we're always happy. जो भी मिलता था सब मिल के लेते थे. So he thought that was far better. So, and he saw how people were constantly suffering because they accepted the unreal world as real. ये जगत 2 दिन के लिए क्षणिक है. This is very temporary, transitory. Of course, all that, Sat Maharaj is now building, because, this is why he behaved. It is no wonder, after observing the miseries of the worldly life, he resolved to conduct his own life differently. And these are all Maharaj's inferences from the incidents, etc. Because Gadadhar never told his resolution to anybody, "Main kaise jiyu." He has never told. But seeing how he was, he himself writes, at this, the reader may ask, it is possible for a boy of 11 or 12 to have such thoughts and such insights and such powers of discrimination. But he argues, yes, normally it is not possible. But Gadadhar was not normal. He was very special. So in his case, it was true. So he developed such attributes. So he says, whatever people might say, I am going to tell the truth because the world should know how he was. So he was losing interest. He was going to school, etc., but still regularly, and he picked up the languages, etc. It's very good, Bengali and probably Sanskrit also. So he read Ramayana, Mahabharata, the scriptures. His devotion and melodious voice would hold the audience spellbound. He would read, he would hear, he would repeat verbatim. And with his own beautiful voice, he would sing, and he always used to have a good audience. You talk about Prahlada, Dhruva, and so many others. So, many in the village, they would call him for giving those performances, and he would demonstrate for everybody. So, occasionally, Gadadhar heard the story how Tarakeshwar Shiva revealed himself, or a musical narrative describing the Divine Mother, Yogodhya, or the story of Madan Mohan, of Vanavishnupur, many other stories of gods and goddesses. So, because of his prodigious memory, everything, if he heard once, that was enough. The mind was absolutely uncluttered. Why we are not able to remember? Because there are thousand things clouding our mind all the time. बैठे जब पतले बैठते हैं, अरे उससे क्या हुआ, तो नहीं हुआ अभी तक, वो बाकी है, ये करना है. So naturally, the mind. But here is a mind which is absolutely free from any cobwebs or any unnecessary crowding. So he could clearly, whatever he wanted, and in fact, he even used to write down. So later on, they got manuscript of some of the other musical compositions, etc. All those they could recover some of those things. He had a very beautiful handwriting. Vedada's indifference to arithmetic, we already mentioned, but still he learned some tables, how to multiply and divide, etc. So because he was experiencing now and then this samadhi and all, so राम को नहीं उसका ज्यादा ऐसे कोई परेशानी में डालना ठीक नहीं है. Let him go to school whenever he wants, because we should not pressurize him. Already he is having epilepsy and all that. So उनका बहुत सुविधा हो गया. So already, there was no one to monitor. Still, they gave him, whenever he wanted, he can go. So he did not study much formally, but कभी कभी जाते थे, कुछ वहां सुनते थे, कुछ पढ़ते थे. It was very irregular. He never cared. And actually, as I say, 2 साल हो गया. Now he was in 12th year. Now Rameshwar had become 23 years old. 20 years, very advanced age for marriage. Those days, usually by 15-16 के अंदर ही शादी वादी हो जाता था. So he was 22 years old, and then Ram Kumar, as the eldest son of the family, so he had a responsibility to arrange for it. So obviously, he was searching for a suitable bride, and then he arranged for his marriage with the sister of Ram Sadai Bandapadhyay of Gauruhati. Gauruhati is very near Kamarpukur. So from the village he caught out this person. So your sister may be given in marriage to my brother. इसमें क्या हुआ, अपना बहन सर्वमंगला के भी उनके साथ शादी करवा है, दोनों हो गया. So there was no खर्चा, dowry, etc. So the expenses he avoided. His sister, he got married to Ram Sadai. Ram Sadai ki Bahan, he got married to Rameshwar. So there was no dowry expense on both sides. So they managed. Then another important event happened at that time. Ram Kumar's family, his wife, she did not conceive when she was very young. But then at a little advanced age, advanced normally compared to those days, she became pregnant. The family members were happy and fearful because Ram Kumar had predicted, he was a great astrologer. If she becomes, if she conceives, with the childbirth, she would die. It clearly predicted. So naturally, people were joyous because some child is going to be born to the parents, and they were also afraid that something might happen. So he had been uh, earning some money, but slowly he find that he's not able to meet the expenses. So his health deteriorated, and Rampar's wife also became strange in her behavior. Normally, that is a custom in the family. Till the Raghuvir's puja is done, कोई जल भी ग्रहण नहीं करता. That was the tradition. Till the puja of Raghuveer, nobody would eat or drink anything. That was that was a kind of discipline. See, that is how discipline is built. Up to certain time, you have to do your puja, you have to do everything. Then only, पहले तो उठते ही कुछ पीते हैं हम लोग. Then only the day starts. पूजा वूजा बाद में. But here he says, not even water till Raghuveer's puja is done. Because हम लोग जो अंतर जो है भगवान के उसके हम लोग पानी डालते हैं वो ठीक है, लेकिन they were very strict. But suddenly this Rama's wife, she started taking something before Raghuveer's puja. Everybody became very worried that something serious is going to happen. And then she would also fight and quarrel, and all those things are not known those days. She would also be extremely obedient, and their elders would also treat like that. Chandramani used to treat her like a daughter only. Ramkumar's brother Rameshwar was educated, but he was not good at earning money. So the family was becoming, very poor financially. They were very badly off as far as finance were concerned, but they were thinking what to do. And then suddenly his wife's delivery period approached. In 1849, she gave birth to a beautiful boy. But after seeing the child, she passed away in the delivery room. A pall of grief again fell over Ramkumar's poor family. क्योंकि उस सब समय तो ये सब अकाल मृत्यु वगैरह बहुत नहीं जानते. People dying at odd age and all was not so known in those periods. People used to live long, healthy life, and naturally death would take over because of the modernity and advancement. People get heart attack at 25, 28, 30, etc. Those things were not known. So naturally, at an early age when she died, everybody became very sad. Now we have come to the next chapter. At the threshold of youth, now the childhood is almost over. So, however, Ramkumar was trying, he was not able to increase the family income, and the debt was growing. He was borrowing money to meet the expenses. Nothing was working. Then his friend suggested, if you go elsewhere, either to Burdwan or Calcutta, since you're so learned, you'll be able to earn more. And finally, he also thought that so many years I was living here in the company of his wife. So he thought that maybe more than 30 years I have lived here with her. So to at least get rid of the grief, let me change the place. So then he went to Calcutta because many others from the around surrounding villages were making a lot of money there. So he went and he handed over the family responsibility to Rameshwar, and he left for Calcutta. He opened a Sanskrit school in Jamapukur area and began to teach a few students. अभी भी वहाँ छोटा हुए पाठशाला का कुछ है. Now also can go that Jamapukur area. So then, after the death of Ramkumar's wife, Rameshwar's wife was very young. Although she was trying to help a little, but the main burden again fell on Chandramani Devi at this age. Had to look after the young child of Ramkumar because her mother had died, father was not there. She became the guardian, and Gadadhar himself was not too old, maybe 15 years, 16 years. And then she had to do the entire household work, arrange for Raghuvir's offering daily. So day and night she was working, at this age of 58, 59, but she thought it's all the will of Raghuveer, and she carried on without any complaint. See, that was the way of life in those days. People never used to complain. Suddenly, from when Rampar's wife was shouldering much
Yes.
responsibility, now suddenly the whole thing has fallen upon her. No, it is the Lord's will. Let me do it happily. Now, as a financial responsibility fell on
Yes.
he thought how to earn a little more money, but he was not very successful. He was Sadha Siddha Admi, they bola the. So simply whatever he was managing, he thought Raghuveer will take care of everything. That was his idea. I don't have to bother. And obviously, because this Gadadhar, everybody knew about his character, etc. So no one bothered to monitor him, and he was just roaming here and there and making merry. And then, because he had so the it really amazed him how people take a formal education just to make money. And although people enjoyed worldly pleasures with their hard-earned money, they were not necessarily endowed with truthfulness, character, righteousness, as was his father. So he did not uh, uh, bother much about formal education. So he completely gave up all this money making education. And he realized that the prime goal of human life was to attain love for God. Bhagavad Prem जीवन का एकमात्र उद्देश्य है. So, moreover, now he was not alive. No one checked whether he was going to school. He would spend more and more time in the worship of Raghuveer. Raghuveer की पूजा वगैरह में ज़्यादा समय वो बिताते थे, and he was really enjoying. And at the same time, because he was at home, the village human had a lot of opportunities to come. If he's in school, they can't come there. But if he's at home, they would come. कुछ ना कुछ बहाना लेके आ जाते थे. They would come with some pretext or other, make him sing, make him recite Ramayana, etc. Everything he would do as far as possible. And if they find he is helping his mother, they themselves will take all that and finish quickly so that Gadadhar can give some time to them. So they will come very frequently, and they were. He would read stories from Puranas, and he would do many other things. There were three yatra parties in Kamapur Kartem. It's a small village. It had three troops. And then, there were one ball party and a couple of kavis. The kavis, they used to, kavi ladai, they used to, you know, narrate very beautifully, and then finally one is declared a winner. All that. So from all that you will compose, you will repeat. So they all used to get a very good variety entertainment whenever they would come. This is how it used to. So they had on occasions, they also witnessed a transformation come over Gadadhar when he was in divine ecstasy. I suppose the karte the, lekin kabhi they saw that he was a totally different person, deeply absorbed in something very, very transcendental. So his devotion to God, passionate readings, his sweet singing, simple, loving behavior, they all, they aroused unique devotion and love and attraction for him. So all they were deeply attracted towards him, but they also felt a deep sense of devotion. Here's a boy at such a young age, has such a simple life, is so truthful, he is so devoted to God. The way he would do Raghuveer's worship. In a small village, all these things spread very quickly. So they were extremely attached to him. So Prasannami and others, they had experienced the manifestation of child Gopala in Gadadhar and loved him more than they did their own sons. अपना बच्चे से भी उसकी ज्यादा प्यार करते because they saw traces of that, some vision they had that he was Gopala reincarnate and all that. So they freely mixed with Gadadhar and उनका सब समस्या बता देते थे. They upon asked for his advice and tried to follow. For his part, Gadadhar behaved with them as though he were one of them. उनके साथी की तरह उनके साथ वो व्यवहार करते थे. So he would often dress himself as a lady in women's clothes, and he would do some acting, drama, etc. And they would say that nobody can find out it is Gadadhar because he would exactly mimic their actions. Sometimes he would dress as a lady and take a picture, keep it on his hip and go and bring water. And nobody on the way would recognize it is Gadadhar. Everybody, oh, some lady is going. That's how they used to. So the Sitanath Pine is a very nice person, a merchant in that area, merchant area. He used to live with 7 sons and 8 daughters. So the daughters lived with their father even after that marriage. But because there was the Pine family was known as the merchant's quarters, it was close to Shridiram's house. So the women from their families would come to Gadadhar to listen because they were not allowed to go anywhere. And Gadadhar would also go and perform everything. Although they had Parda and all that, before Gadadhar, they was very, very free. He was also growing. He was about 16 years old. He was virtually a youth. But they never felt any hesitation, anything about him because he was so pure. So they always used to entertain him, and he would go to Sitanath's house very regularly and they would enjoy his performances. And Sitanath was the head of the family and he liked Gadadhar so much. He did not object to his women folk listening to Gadadhar, although there was further system. But there was another merchant by name Durgadas Pine. He raised an objection. Nay, nay, which girls are grown up. Why are you allowing somebody to come there? And because he liked, he himself was very devoted to Gadadhar. But he said, this Parda system, he was so strict. And he said, no, nobody can come to my house. No grown up male can ever enter my house or know about my women. I'm very, very strict, as he said. So he was one day he was bragging like this. Gadadhar was present. He said, do you think that mere parda will protect your women? Is that the way? Rather, ethical conduct and devotion to God, morality, these are important. Then, then he said, if I wish, I can visit your women household and learn everything. And Durgata said, no, you can never do it. All right, you will see, said Gadadhar and left. One afternoon, without telling anybody, Gadadhar dressed himself as a lady. Lady means like a poor weaver woman. ऐसे गंदा कपड़ा पहनाया, and he was like that, very shabby looking. And then he walked to dirty sari, talked to Durgadas Pine's house. And he said, he weepingly, I have been left behind my companions. आज रात को आप रहने दीजिए so that I can stay here and tomorrow I'll go away. So he made inquiries and they said, all right, go in and talk to the women and they will give a room for you. So he went inside and then he introduced himself as a weaver woman, talked to them. And then actually, Ukada itna sundar, he was so charming, really attractive everybody, talked to everything, observed everything, kaha kya hai, pura dekh liya. And he talked to every one of them. And, you know, he asked them questions, and the whole evening was almost over. It was almost getting dark, and Gadadhar was not home. So they were alarmed. Kahan gaya? They know he had gone to the merchant quarters. So naturally, they first went to Sitanath's house because that's where he used to go. Sitanath said, no, he has not come here. So while coming out, Ramashiva was simply calling aloud, oh Gadai, kahan gaya? Where are you? Where are you, Gadadhar? He was shouting. And suddenly, hearing his brother's voice, Gadadhar, oh, remember it is late. Then he simply shouted back, Brother, I am coming. And he came rushing. And then Durgadas realized that Gadadhar had outwitted him. मेरे तो बुद्धू बना दिया, अंदर घुस गया, सब देख लिया. Initially he was very hungry, but then he really appreciated his wonderful capacity to mimic and all that. And then Sitanath and others were also delighted that Gadadhar crushed the pride of Durgadas. From that time onwards, the women of Durgadas Pine's house, they were also allowed to come and see him. उनका भी permission मिल गया था. So it was, if they did not visit him for a few days, they will send for a message. You come. Otherwise, they themselves will come because no, they could not be without him. They're all See, such things are all very reminiscent of what we hear about Sri Krishna in his boyhood or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is सब में it is a foolish Westerner wrote that because the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna heard about the immaculate conception of Christ, they have written about Sri Ramakrishna also about that. It's all not like that. In many incarnations, the patterns are repeated, not exactly the same way, but these traces, this attraction, because however much you may try to conceal, it is not possible to conceal such divine incarnations, their divine attraction, etc. beyond a point. निकल के आएगा ही आएगा किसी ना किसी वक्त. It will come out. So obviously, in this case also, they were very much attracted by him. And then, in 1892, 6 years after Samadhi, Ramakrishna and then some others went to Samarkand. So they met Rukmini, one of his daughters. She was still living. She was almost 60 years at that time. Then she said, "You can see our house to the north." Dilapidated. Most of the family members have gone. But when I was 17 or 18, it was a home of prosperous family. The father's name was Sitanath Pine. There were 17 or 18 girls in our house, and Gadadhar played with us since our childhood. So we were fond of him. As an older boy also used to come. We never used to feel any hesitation in mixing with him or talking with him because he was. Then somebody, it seems, told him, "You have so many young girls. Why do you allow Gadadhar?" Siddhanath, my father replied, "Don't worry. I know Gadadhar very well." So they did not dare say anything. When he visited in our apartment, he would tell us many stories from Puranas and entertain us with jokes. Almost every day we did our homework joyfully by listening. I can't express how happy we were when he was with us. If he did not come one day, we became worried, thinking that he was not well. We would find no peace unless we would go to Chandramani's house to inquire about him. So, he was not only popular with women, but his all round creativity and affection brought him close to everyone in the village. In the whole village, he was so popular. Huh? Just somebody is making some noise, please take care because he's online. No? And he would, every evening, he visited the places where both old and young enjoyed reading from Bhagavata and Kirtan singing. Joy overflowed wherever and whenever Gadadhar was present. No one else could read and expound the mysteries of religion with such passion. During devotional singing, no one had such ecstasy or such improvisational ability to supplement the lyrics with significant words. Bhaat maybe even used to do kirtan. He would innovate new words and make it very attractive. Because if you repeat the same thing, after some time there won't be. But you would change. You would invent new words. During celebrations, he surpassed everyone in performing comic characters and mimicking the various affectations of both men and women. बहुत सारा वो दिखाते हैं कैसे महिलाएं कैसे करते हैं पुरुषों की क्या क्या दिक्कतें हैं so everything you will mimic and show but he was slowly he was also growing old. Many of the villagers would come and ask him even solutions for their worldly problems. Sansar mein ye ho raha hai, it is happening, these are difficulties, this is a problem. And he would give solution for everything. So then if you find anybody is hypocritical, he will openly admonish them or mimic their actions and kind of humiliate them. So did not go to, he was going to school only because he was his friends loved his company. उनका पढ़ाई पढ़ी की कोई संपर्क नहीं था. But if he doesn't go, his friend will feel bad, Gaya Vishnu and others. So he would go, and then his life was meant for a specific purpose. He would have to focus all his energy on the realization of God. Occasionally, a vague picture of that goal would appear in his mind, but he could not yet grasp it. See, he was kind of, at the threshold of youth. there, some ideas were getting formed in his mind. Now, what should I do? What should I pursue in my life? He clearly understood that the normal education is absolutely useless for him. He cannot do anything with that. So he knew something else is necessary. So then suddenly the idea of a monastic life, wearing an ochre cloth, meditating before a sacred fire, dhuni, etc., Bhiksha mein rana, living in alms. So it all attracted him. But then, his mother and brothers and family condition used to hesitate how to leave all these people and go. And then instead, he felt an urge to help them as best as he could by living in the world and depending on God as his father had done. जैसे उनके पिताजी करते थे, was in the world, samsara, but he was not a samsari. He was completely depending on Raghuveer. He never bothered about income. He would do all his daily worship, puja, everything. उसके साथ सामान्य जो कुछ मिलता था, that much only. So he thought that maybe that's better. So at this time, occasionally experienced an extraordinary feeling in his pure heart. When he sang and read Puranas, now he felt their happiness and misery as his own. Therefore, whenever his discriminating mind urged him to renounce the world, his heart would remind him of the simple villager's love, faith in him. He felt a calling to lead his life as a role model so that they could follow his example to achieve the highest ideal and transform their ordinary human relationship with him to a deep, spiritual, eternal one. So, it is all naturally on hindsight, which much of it is what Sarath Maharaj is constructing. It's all so completely formed in his mind. And of course, others, though, they never knew anything. So he thought that it's better to be in the world and set a great role model. That's what he would do later. See, if you look at Sri Ramakrishna's life, he had much more tyaga and renunciation than all others. Nobody could compare anywhere near. See, normally people talk of tyaga, of giving up some goods, some money, some property, some family, but his tyaga was a far greater because he would give up even ideas. Ideas, त्याग तो हम लोग कभी नहीं सुना. Because even those who give up, all their life they struggle to give up ideas. That is their lifelong struggle. So many ideas cloud the mind, completely take it in a different direction. Fighting against that all life is the greatest tapasya or struggle. Ramakrishna, Gadadhar as he grew up, any idea if he gave up means gave up once for all. He had somehow a strange idea that I will put on a very costly shawl and smoke hubble bubble from a silver hubble bubble hookah. But whenever he had to say, immediately Mathurnath would arrange everything. Everything was arranged. So he once or twice he had the hookah, he put on the shawl, and the very next moment, oh, this is costly shawl. Threw it. He was spitting. He was trying to throw it on the ground. Then, because it was 1,000 rupees those days, Mathu Babu, Turant, he came, quickly took away the shawl, and all the things once and for all over in his life. Never a second time he ever wished that he should have a shawl. Never he ever wished that he should smoke in him. So he is not only now giving up external things, money, property, even crores of rupees is nothing. But to give up one idea, one has to struggle whole life. Supposing you pick up one idea from somewhere that gets entrenched into your mind, to remove it and throw it away and be free of that, it's a lifelong struggle. That's why people again and again commit mistake. They know. If you ask, sometimes people this idea, if they see something, they have to take it. They may be very rich, but something is there attractive, they take. They can buy thousands of things like that, but if you see something, take it. So what people will think. Again, next time, again. Most of us keep on repeating. Whatever we feel in our saner mind, when we are calm, when we are not doing, we know it is wrong. But when the situation comes, again the idea overpowers you, you do it. That's why people, thieves commit again thief, murder commit again murder. People have loose character, again they violate because of that. But here's a person, his renunciation or tyaga was so perfect. The moment he thought that something I would give up, that was the end of it. After that, that thought would never ever cross his mind. Where can you talk? What do you talk of renunciation? That is why uh, great sannyasis of the future all sat his feet. They know that his renunciation was a far greater quality than their own. So he was completely gave up the idea of studying, but then the friends would not leave him. So what he thought was, because he had some acting talent, he said, no, let us make a yatra troupe. So every day all of you will come at that particular time. आप सब school bunk करके वहाँ आ जाओ. I will also come. So he arranged. So where to do? Where is the place? In the village, if you do everything, everybody will find out. अरे आप लोग school छोड़ के यहाँ कहाँ हैं? So he said, no, let us all go to Manik Raja's garden, that mango grove. There nobody will be there. So they will spend 2 hours, 3 hours doing yatra, singing, dancing, everything, and then come back as if they're all coming back from school. So that went on for some time. So of course, brother had to. So he was so intrepid. Several characters he himself would do. 4-5 रोल करना कुछ नहीं था. इसके लिए अलग वॉइस चेंज करना, एक्शन चेंज करना, everything he would do. So he was singing and this thing. It was all okay. Painting also he could do. Once he went to visit his village sister Sarvamangala at Gaurati, he came back and exactly made a painting of her household. So everybody was stunned how he could do like that. And he was very good in making clay images, gods and goddesses. He was spending time with Akshay and this and that. But he was almost 17 years. There, Ramkumar was struggling, working day and night. His school was becoming better. The students were increasing. Every year, Ramkumar would come back to Kamarpur for a few weeks. उनका so माँ के साथ मिलना, see how his brothers are doing. Then he saw Gadadhar was not studying, is not doing anything, simply roaming about. He said, no, I will take him to Calcutta. So he will help him. He will help him in my school. He will also study. And he will also keep some accounts or something in the school, some records. So when he suggested, so naturally Rameshwar agreed. Gadadhar also thought that, so because it's my elder brother's request, to help him, I will go. On that condition, he agreed because he wanted to help his brother. In an auspicious day, Ramkumar and Gadadhar bowed to Raghuveer and taking their mother's blessings, they left for Calcutta. So, the mart of joy at Kamarpur came to an end. Because no, the Gadadhar going away means the whole village, शोक की छाया पूरा उसका हिरा लिया. Chandran people devoted to Gadadhar would now have to live on their own, on their sweet memories and thoughts of his bright nature. उनके बारे में सोच के they have to continue to live. So now, next we'll take up. It's a very hereafter it will be very interesting and challenging also. It's a very big chapter. It covers maybe from 17 to 40 years or so. Sri Ramakrishna as a spiritual aspirant. एक साधक होने के नाते कैसे उन्होंने how did you live as a साधक, that will take up. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम तत्सत. श्री राम कृष्ण.
like 10 minutes के भाई, but फिर मुझे हॉस्टल पास टाइम और ट्रस्ट टाइम में 80 फिर वो